discussion from the commission for Chairman Cannon or any? No? Mr. Cannon, I would like to thank you, and I think I can speak for the whole commission for all the hard work and the time and hours that you've put in. You know, most people probably don't realize being on the commission, we're not paid, and you have put numerous hours into this, and I want to thank you from myself and for the commission and for the budget committee as a whole. I know y'all spent a lot of time working on this. So I will now go to the floor for discussion. The motion and the second is still on the floor, and we're going to go continue discussion, and anyone that's wanting to speak, do so. I saw Mr. Mike Butler with the Tennessee Federation's hand first, so come forward, sir. Come to the front, Mike. State your name and who you're with, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mike Butler. I serve as the Chief Executive Officer of the Tennessee Wildlife Federation, and I wanted to provide a handful of remarks to the Commission. As you know, we've walked through every one of those public meetings through this process and have watched it very closely. We even surveyed, or it's not really a survey as much as it is a questionnaire of about 190,000 plus people around the state regarding some of the issues contained within this license package. One of the things that I want to start off with is that we don't like the fact that we have to be so concerned about a license increase. What is concerning to myself, and I would dare say my board, is that we are also, we are tired of living in a situation of scarcity and are really more interested in having a conversation long-term about what we want our state's resources to have to be the best that they can possibly be. And right now, I can tell you, you know, we've watched cuts come to the WMAs. We've watched cuts come to staff. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. I've been through 3 of these license increases and was heavily involved in the last one in 2004. And I think that each of you would agree that we are, even with the stuff that needs to be done today, we are not on a trajectory that's healthy. And we're going to have some conversations about how to change some of the structural funding mechanisms for this agency if we are going to have what we need to have to do the things that help the private sector economy around wildlife and the public sector economy around wildlife. So, you know, when you get hit with the Nashville flood, I don't know what the cost was to the agency, but I know it was significant. Sportsmen are helping pay for some of that. We hope to get reimbursed. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. The overall point is that, as Commissioner Cannon stated, he laid out a 4-point step. We are concerned enough that there's a bigger question that needs to be asked. And I think, frankly, this commission passed a new strategic plan about 1.5 years ago. And that is a guidance document that we want to spend a lot of time working with you to get to that vision. Because while we're talking about scarcity and having to keep up just to stay alive, that's not the discussion the Federation wants to have. We want to have the discussion about how do we excel. And I think we excel, I think this agency excels despite the scarcity, but we're missing opportunities that can help create more jobs, can help private economies and things like that. So with those opening remarks, I'll quickly get to the point. In our survey or questionnaire that we sent out, we asked, I'm going to hit the highlights of this. We had right at 5,000 responses across the state, which our experience has shown this is not a scientific poll. It is simply a good estimator of trends in the mindset of the people that responded. I'm not going to say the entire public thinks this way. We do have scientific polls that show that the public support wildlife and conservation and the work of this agency to the tune in the 80 to 85% range, but I'm not prepared to share that today. What I will tell you is that We asked several different kinds of questions. The bottom line for support on this proposal, 59% of the respondents said they support it, which means the converse don't support it. Just to give you a feel, all of these folks were hunters or fishermen. 43% of them hunt and fish in Tennessee only. 56% hunt multiple states, including Tennessee. On the question of for instance, the example of the new user groups that we're looking at, the OHV riders, the horseback rider groups, trying to mirror what we're doing, what y'all are doing at Royal Blue, that we've been involved with over the years. 88% of the respondents supported those groups paying something to pay their way. That was a very strong indication. I'd say the result on the guide license question, of the respondents that responded to this questionnaire, 82% said that they supported it. Interesting point, 47% of the people, and this gets to my point of vision and doing more, 47% of the people said they had lost a place, their places to hunt and fish. That's almost half. And so I think, you know, we could have a long conversation about access to rivers and lakes and streams and things like that, that can be part of a bigger vision. When we asked about, you know, how has their fishing experience been, 41% said their fishing has been better than ever. 26% said it was about the same. 12% said it's not what it should be. And 20% said, I haven't been watching this question long enough to be able to give you an answer. We'll be glad to provide the final results of this to y'all. About half the people before taking the survey were aware of this coming up. About 42% knew that it was going to be associated with the cost of living increase. And to your point, Commissioner Cannon, we had to buy a new copier the other day. We bought one 5 years ago for $8,000. And that same machine roughly now costs $15,000. And so it's, we're feeling that pinch as well. Informed, between the people that feel like they were informed or not informed about what was going on, there were more people that did not feel they were informed, which this survey was a way to inform them. But in terms of the people that understood the benefits that the agency provides the public, that was pretty high. We had 18% that were very informed, 35% informed, 32% somewhat informed, 12% not really informed. So the result shows that they're paying attention to what the agency's doing. So, you know, those are the highlights of that result. I think I'll leave the commission with this thought. On the Lifetime Trust Fund, we are gravely concerned that there is $40+ million sitting in a bank not being able to be used for what it was intended to be used for. The concept was fine. If you're pulling 6 to 6.5% interest on that kind of money, you have a sustained revenue stream over time. But we are committing to you today to help fix that problem. And I don't, you know, I won't go as far to say that I'm willing to go try to amend the Constitution a second time, but we'll do everything within our power to fix that, because consistently through our supporters we talk to, they are just short of furious that there's that much money that the agency cannot tap that was given to the agency for the purposes of doing the work that we're talking about. And so we'll stand ready to work with Chris and whoever, Governor, and get that fixed on a short-term basis. I think that the other piece that we're committed to doing long-term is trying to find a way to change the funding structure. And I'll give one specific example. I know of polling information in Tennessee that supports the Virginia approach, which is let's take, hunting and fishing in this state generates billions of dollars, and that contributes millions, if not 100 million, to the general fund of the state, based upon the activities of sportsmen. If none of those dollars are going to the agency to support anything, and that's something that has support from the numbers that we've seen, is taking some of that revenue, or even the increased growth in that revenue, and providing it in a very public investment type approach to what the agency does to produce a return on that. I think there's a growing sentiment that if those tax dollars are being generated by the activities that result from the services that this agency puts on the ground, then we should be able to go get some of those funds to help do this, because we're not on a sustainable track of raising licenses. I know we have to do it now, and we reluctantly support that, wholeheartedly, but reluctantly. But it's not a sustainable model. We had this discussion in 2004, we're having it now. I think that we have to look at other sources of revenue, and we're committed to doing that. So, any questions? That concludes our
Any
comments.
questions? Commissioner Cox?
One of the questions in that survey, I got the survey was about the way the agency's funded, or the way the where the money comes from, about the legislature and the general fund type. What was the answer to
See
that
if I've
question?
got
Whether
that specific.
sportsmen should continue to fund it, or the legislature?
Well, it was more about who did people want in control of managing the resource. And it was 85% overwhelmingly biologists and professional scientists in the agency over elected politicians. One thing I would point out, though, is that, and you raised the bordering states, we did some looking at the bordering states. States like Georgia, number one, all the states that border us, I believe, have an state income tax. And that issue has been put to bed permanently in Tennessee with the recent constitutional amendment. We generate around, I think in 2013, Tennessee generated $6.8 billion worth of revenue. To put that in perspective, North Carolina and Georgia are generating somewhere more than 2 times that amount of revenue. Now, a lot of that at Virginia, I think it's like $16 billion. Those states get general fund dollars to fund their wildlife agencies, and it's not insignificant. Missouri is the same way. The reason that they have those greater increases in state revenues is they have more people than we do. That's one of the main reasons. You look at Mississippi, they have a state income tax. They generate a little less than Tennessee does. The point being is that those states have seen fit and have taken an approach to diversify the revenue streams, and we feel that time is due to take a hard look at that.
Any more questions of the commission? Thank you, Mr. Butler.
Thanks.
All right, going back to the audience, does anybody want to address the commission? Former Commissioner Hayes, you have the floor, sir. Please state your name.
Yeah, it's not up there. There it is. One of the things I'm concerned about Reelfoot is unique. We have 2 licenses where no other major lake in Tennessee has it, or hardly any lakes around in any other state has that. The Reelfoot preservation fee was put in effect in the 1980s. It wasn't asked for from this group here, from the TWA, but with a group of us at the lake that asked for that fee through the General Assembly, and they approved that to buy land around Reelfoot Lake so we could raise the water level. Since then, all the land has been paid for. One thing I'm proud to say, Reelfoot is one of the only refuge in the system that operates in the black. All the rest of them combined in West Tennessee lose approximately $10 million a year. One thing you look at, in 2005, we were averaging about 15,000 3-day permits, and 11,000 annual permits. The last major license increase, see, we have 2 licenses, so we get double it. And the last out-of-state, see, 9% of the license sales at Reelfoot is out-of-state. At one time, we sold 25% of all the state, 3, 4, and the 1-day trip license. I mean, we depend solely on out-of-state dollars at Reelfoot. But in 2005, that last increase, we didn't get the 33% increase. I think the out-of-state license went up by about 75%. So we had 2 licenses that went up. That effect in 2005, we lost 12% of revenue and sales of license the very next year. Since 2005, we have lost 50% of sales of license at Reelfoot Lake. There's no other lake in Tennessee that's been affected this much. There's a lot of problems, the economics, the higher license, the new competition, and I really believe the catch rate at Reelfoot has really gone down. It doesn't show it in y'all creel clerks, but there's any fishermen out there, they'll tell you. Our catch rate for a medium-sized fish isn't there. All we're catching right now in the last 3 years is a big fish. Now, I really believe we had a good spawn this year because you can throw a net out there and you can catch plenty of small fry. But we had a drought 2 times in about the last 6 years. And there were so many fish caught in that fall. People brought them out. Everybody could catch a limit, and they was catching 2 or 3 limits a day. I really believe that had a major impact. But there's got to be something going on for Reelfoot to lose. I mean, just look at the facts. We lost 100%. I mean, we've gone down in half. And what really bothered me, didn't nobody know it. I called Nashville, and I've been harping for the last 8 years saying we got problems there. But until I got this report and showed it to Ed and talked to everybody, they didn't realize we was having this kind of effect at Reelfoot. And then I just wanted to show y'all, and there's something needs to be looked at. Why is this happening? But we cannot stand a double increase again. We really need the user fee taken off at Reelfoot. I mean, at the economic times and the position we're in right now, I just don't believe that we've lost probably 10 resorts in the last 10 years. And we haven't been the only one that got 2 licenses, major lake in the state, and one of the only major, in all the states surrounding us. We just can't stand it. Used to, we only had competition between Weast Lake and Kentucky Lake. There's a lot more good crappie lakes out there now. Mississippi is giving us a major competition. They're having some of the best record crappie catch rate of all time. Their 3-day license out of state $15. If you go up on our out of state license, we're going to be 4 times higher than our major competition now. I mean, we can't survive. As far as the guide license, I'll talk to y'all about that. Lots of time during the year, I'll have groups of 20 to 50 people. You cannot find enough guides to take these people out. You have to get part-time guides or get experienced fishermen to take them out. These are groups that are, paying thousands of dollars and buying thousands of dollars worth of license. We cannot afford to lose those groups. And on a 1-day fishing license, that's a license that I proposed when I was on the commission. My biggest growth in the last year had been from a 1-day fishing and a 1-day Discovery Park package. It's completely changing in Reelfoot. We don't have the younger fisherman hunter taking the place of that. We're going to have to evolve and include the bird watchers and everybody else. Just this past year, I'm setting up after the duck season, I'm going to bait blinds and provide access for bird watchers and everything else. I'm just telling you, we're hurting bad at Reelfoot, and we cannot take, we can't take it. But whatever y'all can do, I really believe off the fishermen, we got to take that user fee off. And we just won't be treated just like the rest of the state. We want one license. So, thank you.
Is anyone on the commission?
Is this the appropriate time to ask him questions so he doesn't have to come back up? Mike, like in Blue Bank, as was specific, if you have a guides, how many guides work under you or out of your,
Reelfoot probably got more guides than anywhere in the
no,
state.
I'm asking about with, in your
Me, I
situation.
probably at times have to have at the most 10 guides.
Okay,
But just this past week, I had 37 duck hunters to take out. The lake partially froze. I couldn't get to my regular spot. My main duck blind was froze. I had to ask a friend that had a really good place. I said, can you help me out? It was a group of 12 people. You know, they bought $1,000 worth of license. They spent $12,000 with me. They come every year. If I hadn't had that friend to take them out, I could have lost that group from then on.
so, but what I'm saying is if you say you have some part-time guides, the way that, if the guides, structure passes, the way it is structured is you can have permits for guides under Blue Bank Resort, and they can come by and pick those up and use your permit for, as a guide, as long as they have it on in person.
What
Am I
are you
correct with that?
charged for a resort
Sir?
permit? I mean, what will the resort be charged for that license?
No, if you say I average 5 guides that I need a week, then you won't have to buy 5 guided permits. It won't be anybody's name on it but Blue Bank Resort, and you can hand those out to the guide that be
So
using
the
that.
resort's gonna be responsible for,
No, sir, but that's why you make your living, is you hire guides to take your clients out, correct?
right.
Okay, that's what I'm saying is, it's not like you've got to search and find a guide that already has a permit themselves. Because you said there's part-time guides, they can guide under your permit themselves. They can come and pick up a Blue Bank guide permit and have it on them persona while they're guiding, and they do it under your jurisdiction.
That will help some, but it's still gonna put the cost on me, not the guides. And I do a great service for it too, Deborah. My family, we've probably sold $5 million worth of license in the last few years. Since we've been in business. Each year, I lose $8,000 to $10,000 selling the license. You know, we hadn't had an agent fee increase. When's the last time we had one? We didn't have one on the last license. You know, it's getting to the point where, you know, I don't want to sell a license. My dude's my own customer. You know, we had this problem come up just this year. The state parks at Reelfoot sell no license nowhere. They send their people to me when I'm covered up with people every spring to buy a license. And it's a real burden to sell license to the public at a loss.
How do you lose money selling licenses?
You have to have people, I have to have an extra person in there to sell license to hold spring fishing. And on big license sales, customers, they use their credit cards. And the percent on the credit card, plus it takes me an extra person, I figure about 48 hours a week for about 4 months. I mean, I figured it 1 year. I made about $6,000 on my license fee, and the extra person cost me right at $13,000. And the bookkeeping and everything else.
Think that the fact that they come to you helps your business?
Not the park people, they don't spend any money. I'm just glad to take care of my own people. I mean, and I quit taking care of everybody else, but it came to a conflict, and a political conflict of head, and I told them I would go ahead and sell them. But to me, for the state park to have that whole system down there, none of the grocery stores are hardly at Reelfoot sell them, because they know the resorts are going to sell them. I mean, you need to be at my resort when I got people lined out the door coming in to get the license. One of the problems with the license system, you don't even have a go back button on the machine. We can get all the information in, send it to Nashville to process, and when it doesn't come back right, we start all over again. Reelfoot, when they sell a 4-day fishing license, they have to do 4 licenses, 4 start dates. I mean, it's so much harder at Reelfoot because we sell 2 licenses. But when you sell a 4-day fishing package, You gotta have a 3-day, 1-day, 3-day, 1-day permit.
All right, we had this discussion some time ago, Steve, about getting state park to handle licenses. This has come up for discussion, and I understood that they were gonna pick that back up. Do they not?
We have not gotten that confirmation back from,
The state park on their bird watchers, they don't have to make a license out for them. They just roll the money over to TWRA. When I take my bird watcher out, I have to get them to ride a license. And on the state park on their bird watching and people they take out on the lake, they don't even have to fill out a license. But I just think it's time to take the Reelfoot Lake Preservation fee off. I mean, we're the only one that got that. Why should we single out? I mean, I asked for it before, but it's done its purpose, and now it's affecting us so bad. I don't think we can survive at Reelfoot Lake with 2 major license increases.
Mr. Patrick, first, Commissioner Hayes, we hear you. We do
Okay.
hear you, and your point on the state park in particular, that's disturbing. Bobby, if we're thinking about putting F1s in some of their lakes, then we need to have a little negotiation strategy. My notion though is, Steve, help me here, all license that are required other than the federal waterfowl stamp can now be purchased on your phone, basically using the app. Is that correct?
that's all sport licenses, yes.
Okay. Are the license that would impact Reelfoot, can all of those be purchased? And I may be putting you on the spot, we need to look into it.
But you can purchase them online as well.
Online? Okay, thank you.
But when I told people that they could purchase them online and I wouldn't sell them because they wasn't my customer, Greg Snowbug, y'all got all kind of hell from that. I mean, they was ready to take y'all to the woodshed legislators with. They set me up when they did it. The guy that they sent down with, I mean, I ain't gonna get into all that, but they sent their daughter down and they knew I wasn't doing it and they was trying to make an example out of me.
Thank you, Commissioner Hayes. Go back to the floor. Anybody in the audience like to speak? Gentleman in the back, please come to the front and state your name. Sir, just come to this mic right here. Anybody else coming up, there's a mic right behind the column here. Thank you, sir. Name
I'm
and...
Lanny Calicut. I reside here in Union City. I've fished Reelfoot Lake for over 60 years.
Okay.
When this preservation permit was incorporated in 1986, we were told that the main principal financial goal was to pay for the Black Bayou Refuge. That's been 29 years ago. If you get this new license increase, a man that just fishes or the hunting and fishing combination license, he's still gonna have to come up with an additional $21 just to be on Reelfoot Lake. If you go down there this afternoon hoping to take some eagle photos, you've got to have some sort of permit if you get on the water of Reelfoot Lake. And I don't have a dog in the hunt as far as business goes. I just love the lake. We've got more problems at Reelfoot than Asian carp, a lot more. The fishing has deteriorated terribly. What happened, I don't know. The bluegill fishing, all the magazines you pick up, big bull bluegill Reelfoot, hadn't been there in 20 years. Some of these other boys back here will tell you the same thing. So other than a revenue for TWRA, I see no reason for the user fee or the preservation permit to stay in existence. They paid for that ground and they just getting money now. They should have enough to buy half of Lake County if they wanted. And it's just a problem that it's costing more to come to Reelfoot than any other lake I know of. You don't, other than the state lakes like Gibson and the new lake at Huntington, $5 or $6 per day permit. y'all don't have another lake in the state of Tennessee you got to pay to get on to do anything, and you got to pay to get on this one if you follow the law. Now, you can tell by Mike's sheet that there's a lot of people hadn't bought the thing. I bought it for over 20 years till I got to where I was old enough to not have to buy the thing. So I had over $200 in it, just me, to be legal. And I would like for the commission to consider abolishing the user's fee or preservation permit for Reelfoot Lake. 'Cause like I say, Reelfoot's got some major problems other than Asian carp. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Still on the floor. Anybody want to address the commission? This gentleman right here in the maroon shirt.
I know Connie King's probably bored to death when I came up here. I've known Connie about 40 years, so we're old friends. Since I've been here and I had this script, I've labored over it for several weeks. I know I've corresponded with some of you here. And since I've heard some of the...
Sir, let me state your name. And
Oh,
if you
I
would,
will.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna make a long story short.
I'd like for you to do it first, if
And
you
that's
don't
not
mind.
good. My name is Jim Perry.
Thanks, sir.
I live at 130 Valley Oak Drive in Buchanan, Tennessee. I'll be 76 years old next month. I request candy instead of cards, but anyway. As I said, I labored over this for weeks. I'm here solely for the purpose of the guide or discussing the guide license. But I'm going to read a real quick little bio about me and my relationship with fishing and guiding. As I said, I live in Buchanan, which is near Paris Landing State Park. Part of my life's bio consists of having guided part-time, for over 40 years on Kentucky Lake, out of Buchanan Resort. Plus, I guided a few years in Kentucky below the dams for striper. I've also worked for a 9-county Northwest Tennessee tourism organization for 23 years, promoting tourism on Reelfoot Lake and Kentucky Lake. Having said this, I'm familiar with the life of a guide and how to market tourism. As I said, my time here today is solely for the proposed guide license. I stopped guiding a few years ago, so the guide license proposal doesn't affect me, but I still have the guides and tourism in my heart. I got a couple of questions, and I'll be brief. Did TWRA, or the commission, whoever proposes, initiate the guide license as a revenue producer, knowing the manpower that they will have to expend to enforce a guide license and catch any guides who will attempt to avoid purchasing the guide license? The same scenario happened on Kentucky Lake in Kentucky when Kentucky imposed a guide license. U.S. Coast Guard requested and received the names of the Kentucky guide list from Kentucky Wildlife, and then the Coast Guard contacted each one and threatened them with huge fines and/or imprisonment if they guided without a Coast Guard certification. Most of the part-time guides stopped guiding, which meant lost revenue for Kentucky. The same thing will happen in Tennessee, in my humble opinion, if this license proposal passes. Of course, Reelfoot, Mike's bunch, they're not under Coast Guard jurisdiction. So they won't have to worry about the Coast Guard, but they have to buy the resident license, which I'm sure every one of them will. And my last question is this: what does anyone have against non-resident guides working in Tennessee and bringing license revenue into Tennessee by proposing such a high non-resident guide license? Now here's where I'm gonna get off track just a little, because the gentleman up there earlier made the presentation, made mention of all the different states have different rates for guide license because they've got different budget structure, income. So I'm gonna let that go. But I did call Mississippi. I called North Carolina. I was at a meeting last night, a fisheries meeting in Kentucky by the Kentucky Wildlife, and I talked to them up there about their guide license. So I'm gonna skip how much all that is. And I'm gonna drop down and I'm gonna conclude. Since the gentleman here, the Honorable Commissioner, made the comment But since guides make a living, and this is penciled in here at the meeting, since guides are making a living off the resource, they should have to invest something. Okay. I guess I'm going to ask, has TWRA done the math, comparing revenue produced by guides now compared to what will happen after a guide license is imposed and some will stop guiding? And I'm going to sum it up. If this non-resident guide license proposed is based on or compared to a commercial fishing license, I don't understand the logic, because a commercial fisherman fishes for himself, and a non-resident guide brings revenue and license sales to Tennessee. There's an old saying that I think applies here on this proposed guide license. Be careful and don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Who's next? Gentleman, I saw his hand first, sir. No, you raised yours earlier. You come on floor. Sorry. Be sure and state your name, sir.
Yeah. I'm Ed Kelly from Roane County, Tennessee, and I'm probably the only trapper in the room. I'm here to request that we lower the fee on our Type 120 non-resident trapping license to be the same as our non-resident small game license. I think it's a Type 120 is the non-resident trapping license, and Type 071 is a small game license. And I appreciate being here today, appreciate your consideration for this. I know it's a revenue purpose that we're here today, but this one shouldn't have any impact on the revenue. I think if the number I heard was correctly, we sold maybe 7 non-resident trapping licenses last year. I wasn't able to look at any other states' numbers except for Missouri's, and they do a report every year. And I think in the 2012-13 season, they sold a few thousand non-resident trapping licenses. I'm not proposing that that would happen in Tennessee, but obviously the current price of $401 is just to eliminate the participation. And so I would gladly entertain any questions and appreciate your consideration.
Any questions from the commission? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
I believe the gentleman right here I saw next.
My name's Chris Nishin. I am a full-time hunting and fishing guide. I'm also on the board of the Tennessee Wildlife Federation. I won't speak to the license increase. I will say that I've been with you guys throughout this process for years. I hate it, but I know it has to be done, and I appreciate y'all giving the thought and so forth and the effort that you've taken to do this. I am standing up here because of being a full-time guide. I do want to speak to the guide's license. I am mostly known as a trout fishing guide, although I do guide for warm water species as well as deer hunters, small game hunters, duck hunters, stuff like that. I feel the pain of multiple licenses also. You know, trout fishermen do have to buy a trout stamp. That being said, as far as the guide's license proposal, I do want to clear up something that I think is a misconception. This was not generated by the wildlife commissioners. This was generated by sportsmen. And I'll take all the hits. I'm one of the sportsmen that proposed this. I do currently, or I have at various times, held guides licenses in Kentucky. I've held a guides license in Montana, New Mexico, Arkansas. These states do require guides licenses. I actually, myself personally, I would like to see it, not now, I would even like to see it go farther. I would like to, at one day, I would like to start an Outfitters and Guides Association that would be independent but work with the agency so that we can bring our state in line and have people know that when they're hiring a guide, they're hiring somebody that's professional and certified. The one thing that I do applaud you on is I do run a guide service, and I have part-time guides that work for me. I do not run as many commercial trips as somebody at Reelfoot does, but I do have corporations come to me and they'll want to bring 15 or 20 men. The largest one that I've ever done was 36 people, and I am jumping through hoops to find guides to put on our water to do that. One of my part-time guides said, you know, if this thing is a couple $100, I'm not going to buy the license. And I said, well, guess what? Either I'm not going to book you or I will buy the license. He goes, oh, well, then you buy the license. And I said, I guess I will have to, because rather than lose the thousands of dollars that my guide trip's going to bring, cost to pay to play, I'll pay the couple $100. I promise you that whatever the license ends up costing me, I'm going to find a way to pass that on, just like I have every other cost. Thank goodness the cost of my gas has dropped, but when there's other increases, I have to pass that on to my client just like any other business would. But I did want to make sure that the general public did understand that it was sportsmen that wanted this guide's license. I don't want to, I'm not out to punish anybody. I'm not out to do anything other than I do feel like if I make my living off a resource that all of y'all are buying your licenses, that I ought to have to put a little extra in the kitty. And I know this is not going to be a big revenue generator, but it's just something that I feel like we need. And if anybody has any questions.
Any questions, comments?
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
All right, back to the floor on discussion. Anybody else like to? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Candace Curlin. I'm from Lake County. We have two businesses on Reelfoot Lake, Sportsman's Resort North and South. We've been in business for 30 years. And our business the last couple of years have been declining every year because of the fishing on Reelfoot Lake. I don't know what's happened, but people cannot catch fish. Our customers have come down there once. We said, well, the weather was bad. There was a front. They come back twice, still no fish. And some of them's come back 3 times, still haven't caught any fish. I tried to hire a guide the other day. I called him to book some people coming in March. He says, I don't think I want to take them out. Said, I can't catch no fish on Reelfoot. That's from a guide. If a guide can't catch a fish, how's a regular person from Illinois going to come down there and catch fish? Now you want to increase license. We got the permit to deal with. We keep on losing business on Reelfoot Lake because of all these costs. People can't afford to fish anymore. They can't come down there. And then plus they can't catch any fish. They're not going to come back to Reelfoot. So I don't know. I just want to make that comment. And I think it's time to get rid of the permit. If we got to go with the license fee increase, that's fine. You know, you run a business like I run a business. The only problem is I'm probably going to go out of business after 30 years in business. If you can't afford to stay in without all these extra increases, maybe it's time for TWA to go out of business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Back on the floor. Yes, sir.
My name is Brent Work, and I'm representing Lake County as a county commissioner. I'm on the tourism board, and I'm a Reelfoot Lake guide. What I'd like to comment on especially is about the user's fee. One thing that's happened with the user fee through the years is it was supposed to be short-lived, and now it's still going, and I understand you want to go up now, but I think we should abolish that to start with. Another thing, as far as the guiding, and I'm looking at the economic effect of Reelfoot Lake, the whole area around Reelfoot Lake. In my business in the last 5 to 6 years, it's probably been a 45% decrease in business. And this is basically from resorts not having as much business, tourism, people not coming. And I'd like for y'all to kind of look at that. And one thing, I'd like for y'all to look at why we don't have the crappie down there that we used to have. This is a major concern right now. 5 years ago, we could go out and catch a limited crappie, and now it's almost impossible to catch a limit. So people are not coming back, especially if we charge them more, they won't come back because of it. And one major thing is the carp. We got a serious problem with the carp down there. And I'd like for y'all to take a look at what's going on at Real Lake to try to find out about the crappie and make an effort to look at doing something with the carp. And that's all I've got to say, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. All right, anybody else in the audience? Okay, first gentleman right here.
My name is Ed Tittle. I'm a lifelong citizen of Reelfoot Lake in Obion County. I just want to echo what these other people have been saying. I was raised up on the lake as we were known as pushers back then. It wasn't drugs, it was pushing behind guides that were taught us how to guide and where to fish and where to catch the brim, where to catch the crappie, and where to catch the bass. Some of the greats. I lived with some of the greatest guides ever known in Reelfoot Lake. I was born and raised in Sandburg. Compared to where I'll be 58 years old next Tuesday, and I've been there all my life, and I've been duck hunting and fishing since I was 6 years old. My dad took me. And it really hurts me down deep when I see Reelfoot Lake as in the condition it's in today. I know there's a lot going on as far as the spillway is concerned. It's a big issue. How that's going to come out, a lot of us citizens around the lake have no idea. If there's anything you guys could do to give us some information, I would appreciate it greatly. We've been working with some of the politicians around the area trying to find out what we can do to help. We want to help you. I'm all about the TWRA. Some of the agents are some of my best friends. We've hunted together for years, and I respect you. But I'm telling you, Reelfoot Lake is dying. You've heard these reports. You cannot catch fish on the lake. You can't kill ducks on the lake like you could. Whether it be no water, which is my opinion, if we fix the spillway, you can get the water table back up so you can hold water on the refuges, and the ducks will come back. It's a natural lake. Y'all know that. One of the greatest sportsman's paradises used to be that there was in the whole state. So I appreciate you listening to us, and I just want to convey as a personal citizen that loves to hunt and fish that Reelfoot Lake is dying for whatever the reason. And I can't tell you. The carp is a big problem for us down there. The loss of the water on the refuges and trying to pump Black Bayou and can't hold water. Please work with somebody and get this spillway fixed so we can get the water level back up. And I think a lot of our problems will go away. Any questions?
Any questions, comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
This gentleman right here was next.
My name is Robert Dalton. I'm from Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. I live in the immediate area of Laurel Hill Wildlife Management Area. I own and operate the campground there, which is Laurel Hill Trail and Camp. My business is approximately 27 miles from the state line. Our business is closely related to out-of-state business, and you know, a lot of times we get lost. A small business gets lost in a small decision by a big council, and I just wanted to state my position on this high impact fee that we're going to charge people starting this year. It's proposed for ATVs, bicycling, and horseback riding primarily. The proposal is for a $15 a day for residents, $37 a day for non-residents. With a fee like that, most of the people that come to my campground is not in ones. They're in threes and fours as families. With a four-person family, this creates a large problem because if he's from out of state and he's paying $37 a day per person, usually a horse ride from the camp will last 4 hours. So he is paying approximately $120 for a 4-hour ride on this new proposal. You know, they've told me that it's compared to a hunting trip. And hunting trips usually are of ones. A person will go hunting and he will go sit in the woods in his stand and he will consume the air around where he's hunting. Horse riding is not like that. Horse riding is more like a fishing group going fishing. It's done in groups. You want to ride in groups. A horse riding group out of my campground will probably consist of 10 people. You want to be staying close communications where you can hear and talk to people, and it is a more of a social type thing, as much as fishing is. And with the proposal that they've got here now, it would cost so much that the idea of this is to create revenue for the TWRA. With the proposal that they have got here now, with the monies that's going to be charged, it's going to eliminate your out-of-state horse riders. They will not come and pay $148 for a family of 4 to ride 4 hours. They won't do it. Of course, people in state, we are used to paying to ride in areas. And so they will come and ride, but it ought to be more compared to fishing than it is to hunting, because a hunter is out there and he is harvesting something that he carries home with him. Horse riders don't do that. They leave tracks, they take pictures. I think that whenever you consider what to charge, I think you need to go back and look at $6 a day to fish. You know, it's not $15 and $37 to fish. I don't know exactly what it needs to be charged, but I think that we all should be paying for what we're using. But I think that an impact fee of this multitude would be wrong. It would eliminate at least half the business in my campground. Some weekends it would eliminate 90% because I'm only 27 miles from the state line. I don't know the impact in other people's businesses around, but this impact fee here would almost completely eliminate my out-of-state traffic. You know, as we go along in this right here, they say the idea of it is to create revenue. Well, if you charge $6 for horse riding today, and they was 10 in a group, that would be $60 that the TWRA could invest back in their functions. If you've got zero, you've still got zero. And so, in a very kindly way, I would like to kindly ask that something be considered here in a payment plan where we all could enjoy the reserves and still be affordable for the people to come and enjoy our state and the facilities in our state and go home with a good picture of what they've seen. And my name is Robert Dalton, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Sir. All right, back to the floor. Gentleman right here.